who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing. This is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hey, welcome everybody to the Wow Report. You know, every week we count down the top 10 things that make us go
wow.
I'm Fender Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder, joined by the amazing, unique...
When you get to unique that quickly, you run out of adjectives.
And then you pause. Tom Campbell, our Chief Creative Officer.
Hello, Fenton. Wonderful to be here as always.
Lovely to see you. And Shrinking Violet James St. James.
Also known as Grumpy McGrumpster sometimes.
It only happens when I have to be here at 7 a.m.
All right.
Well, this is a live show, and it's the afternoon, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Liar.
We're going to come here as live from our Hollywood Boulevard adjacent studio. I have a new... You can watch us on worldofwonder.net or on the YouTubes where I present. But look, we have a new button for those watching The Magic of Radio. I can cut to the RuPaul star, which is right outside.
We're literally 3 feet from the RuPaul star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on Hollywood Boulevard.
Which is a huge deal for the people walking down the street. People go bananas when they stop. Yes,
If someone does that while we're taping, I'll
You'll
punch
flip
it
over.
up. Yeah,
Okay.
But the star looks preternaturally, supernaturally lit.
I think it's lit, and I think it's scrubbed clean every day.
Licked by fans.
Okay.
All right, why not? I'm out there licking every minute I have free.
You are a fan.
I'm thinking that we should put like a 24-hour feed on the Wow Report or something like that.
Consider it done.
Oh,
yes.
Good. Okay, fabulous.
Without further ado, let's get on with our countdown of the top 10 things that made us go
wow.
This week, number 10.
Number 10.
Fenton, James, Blake, won't you be my neighbor?
Sure. Oh, how exciting.
I went to see the documentary about Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers from the Mr. Rogers neighborhood.
Did you cry like a baby?
I was one continuous stream of crying.
I knew it.
Do you know much about Mr. Rogers?
I did, but I do know a little bit. We didn't have it in the UK.
But as an
growing
adult,
up.
kind of the parody.
Yeah.
Blake, did you watch Mr. Rogers? You're much younger.
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Because it came out in '68. This is the 50th anniversary. His 90th birthday. He's passed on, Mr.
Wait
Rogers.
a minute. I thought it had been around since like the 50s or something. It started in 1968?
The actual show started in '68.
I'll be damned.
And that was my prime. I was 5, so that was my prime PBS Mr. Rogers. And you know how there's nothing that can erase those primal memories.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you can forget them, they're there. And watching this movie and seeing Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and seeing the trolley car and the animals and Daniel the Lion and King Friday the 13th and Henrietta the Pussycat.
That was I'm sorry. That was Captain Kangaroo.
Yes, another primal memory.
Yeah.
But the bottom line about this documentary and what it celebrates, I think without being fawning, is there was just pureness and kindness and civility to Mr. Rogers.
And we need that now more than ever. What a timely documentary.
And boy, oh boy, doing it now more than ever. Now, at the same time, Mr. Rogers, it's they talk about during the Lyndon administrations when PBS came about. And, and then when Nixon got into office, suddenly, right in the next president, boom, there was discussion about lowering the funding for PBS. Who needs that? And there was this congressman, it's been online, little clips about it, where this sort of like, I forget his name, I don't want to remember his name, but he was very flippant and he was just riding through people. And if you've written a statement, a philosophical statement, I don't want to hear it. And then Fred Rogers, who is young and doing Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, says, well, he's thrown off. He's supposed to read like a 20-minute statement. He's like, well, may I? And he sort of just tells this beautiful story of a child and what he was able to do in that moment is disarmed the congressman. And what was he able to do with his career was remember what it was like to be a child and to respect a child's feelings.
And that was the one thing about Mr. Rogers was that he always treated the children. He didn't treat them like children.
Yeah.
He treated them as equals. And he was always that's the one thing that you can take away from Mr. Rogers was the way he just.
And the other thing, as much as we say there's no civility today, and Mr. Rogers brought civility, 1968 was a pretty rough time.
As we learned last week.
Yes. And, throughout his career, they show how the children's television was getting louder and noisier and pies and faces. And, he was up through the 80s. So it was like power rate. And then they would cut to what Mr. Rogers was doing, which was like, hey, kids, let's watch this turtle walk on the rug. It was almost slow TV.
Yeah. You see, the thing was, I remember being introduced to Mr. Rogers in the 80s, and at that time it was seen as slightly, or maybe I perceived it as slightly creepy and slightly naff. And I remember
that was the beauty of it. Was that it was, we're going to put on our slippers. First, you put on the right.
Yeah.
Then you put on the left. And now you put your cardigan on.
And they had
that his mother knitted.
And he had these little songs for everything. His wife is still alive. The whole thing started.
So he wasn't.
No, he wasn't, and they talk about that in the thing.
Okay.
His sons are there, and there actually is the police officer was an African American man,
right?
And he's gotten a lot of publicity because Mr. Rogers, they're in Pittsburgh doing this thing, and he asked this guy to be the policeman. It was important to have an African American on television. 1968 interacting with white people didn't happen, and so the actor, I forget his name, was like, "I'll do it, but I don't want it to interfere with my singing." And he thought that Mr. Rogers goes, "You were so full of shit. I had to hire you or something." And that was Fred Rogers' words. It turns out this individual who played the black policeman was gay, and he went to a club. And they heard about it at Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, a gay club. And he said, "Is that true?" And Mr. Rogers was like, "You can't do that. We have sponsors, Sears, and other things." And there was this moment of disconnect, but he kept him on the show. And the actor actually married a woman. Mr. Rogers was like, they did the whole thing.
So wait, I'm trying to get to how this is affirmative of who you are.
Because it took him a minute to get there, but Mr. Rogers did get there, and he kept him on the show.
Right.
And there's a moment, I don't know, I'm not explaining this well, but you have to see it because it's full of tears. Is like he would simplify things. Like in '69, a year after the show started, integrated pools were a big deal, and there was images of people pouring Clorox into pools where black people were swimming in white people's pools, and they cut to Mr. Rogers' reaction to it, which was he's sitting on his dinky little set, and he has his feet in a kiddie pool, and he's like, "Oh, this is so comfortable, so nice, that feels good." And then the black police officer comes and goes, "Hey, Miss Police Officer, would you like to put your feet in the pool too?" And he's like, "Oh, I didn't bring a towel." He goes, "Well, you can share my towel." And then the black police officer rolls up his pants and is sitting there, and it's just their feet, their white and black feet together, enjoying a pool thing, sort of spread the message in a very simple way. Just an image that young people had that it's okay to intermingle, that these are all our friends.
Now, isn't there also a documentary movie, or a docudrama coming, and Tom Hanks is playing Mr. Rogers?
Something like that.
Coming
yes,
soon?
It's a big story. But this is the last thing I'll say, which is, and this is all about how I perceive the world, but Bewitched, I've talked about as a big show when I watched about in that time. I love the Sonny and Cher show and the Cara Burnett show, and all those things, Bewitched, Sonny and Cher, and Cara Burnett, I believe are infused into RuPaul's Drag Race, which I work on. It's just like, without even knowing it, we are doing things and borrowing things. And I realized while watching this documentary, as I was crying my eyes out, that Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood is in RuPaul's Drag Race, because it starts off with Mr. Rogers coming in, and he's a guy, and he's telling you what's going on, and then that trolley goes into the land of make-believe, where tales are spun, where lessons are learned, and RuPaul's message is, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else? And Mr. Rogers was, "I like you as you are. I wouldn't want to change you or even rearrange you, not by far." It struck me, I don't know, maybe I'm having a self-indulgent moment, but it's just like the kindness and the affirmation and the power of imagination was alive on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you something, because I remember very clearly, because I'm 3 years younger than you or something like that. But
oh, really?
But I do remember thinking that as a very young child, that Sesame Street sort of scared me because it was a little dirty. It was an inner city.
Yes.
I didn't get it. The animals.
It's an urban jungle.
It was urban. It was like some of the Muppets were a little dirty.
Yeah, garbage cans.
They lived in garbage cans. I didn't quite understand it. Electric Company was a little too loud and too nerve-jangling for me.
Yes.
But Mr. Rogers was something that, like, I was embarrassed because my friends made fun of me for liking it, but I would watch it. That and Captain Kangaroo, they both had that sort of gentleness that I could latch onto in my chaotic childhood.
You didn't like Sesame Street because you were seeing your future. You were going to be living in a garbage can.
I don't know what you must think of me.
I love you to bits. That's what I
Is he
think of
Big
you.
Bird or Cookie Monster?
All of those things wrapped up into one.
You've dressed as them all at some point.
And a slice of pizza, too. So here's the thing. When you saw it, it was crowded, right?
I started a matinee and it was crowded.
Yeah, because it's the Won't You Be My Neighbor is it's out in a few theaters. It's sort of in general arts release right now, but it is expanding because it has been so successful. I think it took in something like 470,000 in 29 theaters for an independent documentary. That is shocking.
Right.
This was more crowded than Han Solo, that movie.
Yeah.
You know? So if you could see it, do get a chance to see it.
All the Oscars coming.
Yes.
I'd like to think
you
so.
know what? It's a doozy, right?
Uh-huh. I think it's
because
a
it's
shoo-in.
right, the perfect amount of nostalgia. That's the key to tell
And
a
it's
story, the right story at the right time.
And it's also the one thing for Democrats to latch on to, that this is our way of protesting and resisting without being obnoxious.
exactly.
And it reminds me to just be kind.
Yes, that's what I'm
Yes.
thinking.
in everything I do.
It's
So
the
I take
anti-Trump
back
movie.
everything I've said about you today so far, James.
So fuck you, Tom Campbell. James. Number 9.
Number 9.
Number 9, I watched Alex Strangelove on Netflix, which I'm sure you have seen, one of the many hundreds of thousands of billboards around town. Do you see them everywhere you turn?
I don't know.
I haven't.
They're there.
Never seen one.
Look up once in a while.
I'm
They're
busy
there.
on my phone while I'm driving.
That's what I imagine. It's a movie on Netflix. I thought it was a series, and I was very surprised an hour and a half in when I was like, this is a long episode. And then all of a sudden it said the end, and I was like, what? I had no clue. I thought it was a series.
Who's in it?
Well, it's an adorable group of kids. A boy named Daniel Doheny, who plays Alex Strangelove. He really hasn't done anything. None of these kids have done anything. There's a girl named Madeline Weinstein who wants us to know that she is not related to Harvey, but she plays the girlfriend.
So all young, fresh faces.
All young, fresh faces. The one person we do know from it is William Ragsdale. Do you remember William Ragsdale?
I'm bad with names.
Big in the 80s. He was in Fright Night. He was in Mannequin on the Move. And he was also the star of Herman's Head, which was the definitive show of the 1980s.
Herman's Head, I remember.
Yes, Herman's Head with Yardley Smith.
Yes. Was Mannequin on the Run a sequel to Mannequin?
It was. It was one of the better sequels.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many sequels have there been to Mannequin on the Run? That should be a trivia question.
Well, he was absolutely adorable in the 80s. He plays the father of Daniel in this
nice.
one.
So what's this about?
Well, it's a young boy. I'm glad you asked. He's sort of kind of a dork, kind of popular. He's sort of a typical high school kid. The kid who plays him is just absolutely adorable. I mean, really a find, right? He has a girlfriend, and the girlfriend is pushing him to have sex, and it sends him into a blind panic every single time. And he's like, he's coming up with every excuse in the book not to have sex with this girl, and he doesn't. And they're going to go rent a hotel room, and he's thinking every reason in the world, I can't do it. And he goes to a party one night, and he meets a boy from the other side of the town, and they're up in a room together, and they get high, and they just sit and they giggle all night long, and they just have the best time. And he
memories.
begins to think, what is wrong with me? And then the next day they go out and they go to a concert together, and they almost kiss at the concert, and it's just absolutely adorable. And it feels a little bit like it's
Love
a coming.
Simon?
Yeah, well, it is. It's a coming out movie, and do we really need more coming out movies? Blah blah blah. Yeah, I guess so. We do. So at the very and then he at one point he goes to talk to his best friends, and he's at this really progressive school. Okay, and there's gay kids there, there's lesbians, there's gender fluid kids there, there's a trans girl at the school. So it's not really this big deal that he's going to come out. It's a roller coaster of self-identity is what the tagline says. But at one point he says to the boyfriend, at one point he says to his best friend, I think I might be sort of kind of maybe bisexual a little bit, kind of maybe a little bit, right? And the best friend says, no, you are not. And he says, how do you know? And he says, well, and this is the big joke that everyone's talking about online. The best friend says, people are screaming about a joke. Oh, yeah. The best friend says, hold on. You're going to cut all this out.
We certainly are not.
No, you are. Yeah.
Let's cut to the star.
This is best bit. Oh, yes. RuPaul. Hey!
As James gathers his thoughts, we will take a moment to look at RuPaul's star.
So he said,
And we're back.
We're back.
So he says to the best friend, I might be kind of bisexual, I think, maybe sort of possibly. And the best friend says, no, you are not bisexual. And he says, how do you know? And he says, do you listen to Panic at the Disco and masturbate to vampires? And he says, no. And he says, then you aren't bisexual. Nobody, anybody?
So that's considered to be
a very hysterical joke.
Yes, but
Okay.
but there's backlash online about it.
Yeah, well, but just
I'm afraid to laugh at anything anymore because I'm afraid somehow someone's being offended. Vampires have been offended.
No, because bisexual is bisexual visibility is a big thing.
I know.
As we know online.
We were
and I opened
dragged
this
about this
from last week. Yes. And so I opened this up to our readers. I opened this up to our listeners, is this a joke that is acceptable? Is it funny to make a joke about bisexuality? And the reason why the bisexual joke is that Brendan Urie from Panic at the Disco is a very vocal bisexual.
Yes.
Okay.
And in 2008, when this was written, we were all, all the goth kids were bisexual at school.
Right.
Okay.
And, all the
Twilight
goth kids, Twilight,
and things,
exactly.
okay.
So the goth kids were masturbating to vampires and saying they were bisexual.
Yeah, I don't get. Yeah, okay. I just don't get why.
So we're floating this out there to see if people have just were offended by that joke.
Well, because it's sort of online on Twitter. Some people think that it's the funniest joke of the year. Other people are saying, "How dare you make fun of bisexuality?"
Blue dress, white dress of the internet?
Kind of, yes.
Isn't a joke
Okay,
an
here-
exaggeration of the truth?
Yeah, but this isn't exaggerating. So, do you listen to Panic at the Disco and masturbate to vampires?
Well, yes, I do. Not.
It's like I never understood knock jokes, so I don't know what's going on.
Anyway, it's an absolutely adorable show. I think everyone should watch it. The kid Daniel, whatever I said, Daniel Doheny is a find. And
Did you laugh when you heard that joke?
I did. I thought it was
right.
hysterical. I fell onto the floor. I rolled on the floor laughing.
Is this a Netflix original?
Yes.
Oh, okay. It's so weird. I've never heard of it. I'm gonna go check it out. Alex Strangelove currently streaming on Netflix.
The interesting thing, though, is it did take 10 years for this to make. So a lot of the references are kind of a little dated.
Is it a period piece then?
No. It's supposed to be now, but the guy has been trying to. So you can see that there have been multiple rewrites to try and make things more current.
All right. Okay. Number 8.
Number 8.
What could it be at number 8 other than Ocean's 8?
Oh, you're so clever.
I know.
So you're like a numerologist.
I kind of loved. I mean, I went to see it, and I thought at the beginning this is going to be great because Sandra Bullock is in jail and she gets out, and the first thing she does is she has no money, so she goes to a store, and it's fabulous. She goes through the store picking up items, and you think, oh, she's going to stuff them in her bag, except she doesn't have a bag, so she's just carrying items around the store. She goes to the checkout place and says, "Can I return these, please?" And the woman says, well, do you have a receipt? And she's like, "No, I don't." And they're like, "I'm sorry, we can't take merchandise without a receipt." She's like, "No, please, really, let me just." And they're like, "Absolutely not, no." And she says, "Oh, I suppose I'll just have to take them then. Do you have a bag?" And so the sales assistant puts all the stuff that she's just picked up in a bag and she walks out the store with it. Isn't that a brilliant shoplifting?
Blake, leave right now and go and see how much you can bring back by the end of the show.
Then there is a fantastic. Then she checks into a hotel, and it's a brilliant. She finds a couple who are leaving their hotel, and she's just sort of listening in the lobby. And then after they've left and checked out, she calls up and says, "Oh, this is Mrs. So-and-so. Our flight got cancelled. We're just going to have to come back to the hotel. Could you have the maid go in and clean the room?" Because I was thinking, how is she going to get in the room without a key? Because the hotel said, "Yes, of course we'll extend the room. Welcome back. We'd love to see you. Just let us know when you're back." And she said, "Well, tell you what, could you get the maid to go in the room right now and clean it so it's ready for us when we come back?" So while the maid is in the room cleaning the room, she goes into the room.
So this is a how-to for grifters.
So those first two scenes are fantastic. And after that, I thought it was a complete nosedive.
Really?
But wait, I heard Anne Hathaway is hysterical.
Well, I hadn't got there yet.
Okay.
So Ocean's 8 has got everybody in it, right? It's got, Rihanna,
Mindy Kaling,
Aquafina.
Kate Blanchett.
Yes. Kate Blanchett and Sandra Bullock are the duo of the piece. And they are robbing the Met. And I think it's great to rob the Met. That's a great heist concept.
Well, but didn't we just decide last week on Pose that we shouldn't be taking priceless artifacts from the Met?
Except
You did.
Except the whole thing revolves around the first Monday in May. So they're going to rob someone of their jewelry at the Met Ball.
Bing, bing, bing. It's all clever. I buy all that, by the way. It feels
But wait a
modern.
minute. Also the fact that, okay, we've got an all-female cast. What do? We put it in the fashion.
Well,
it's got to be dresses.
exactly.
They've got to be stealing jewels because they can't steal art because they can't steal anything else that the men steal.
Right.
It's a little, I mean, come on. Give the women some credit.
Get them to rob something really great. Anyway, there's this $100 million...
Maybe they're going to go into a hairdressing salon because they're women. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on.
There is this $100 million necklace that they are going to rob. And the plot works on the basis that first they need to get this airheaded star to want to wear that necklace. And to do that, they need to get this failure of a designer that they want they need to get this airheaded star to want this failure of a designer to dress her, because the failure of a designer is in on the heist because her career is in the toilet. This designer is played by Helena Bonham Carter. Really irritatingly, she just cannot let it alone, and it's like it's a little bit Cyndi Lauper as a mess kind of concept.
Did she walk like this?
She's Irish, I believe.
And it's just she's like twitchy and messy, and it's just,
as Helena often
I suppose
is.
The problem is, I think it's really hard to do fashion satire, right?
As we learned with what was that movie in the 90s?
Devil Wears Prada.
No,
Pret-a-porter.
Pret-a-porter, yes.
I mean, Devil Wears Prada's pretty good, right? We like Devil Wears Prada.
Pret-a-porter.
But Pret-a-porter. Anyway, so Anna Wintour has two like momentary appearances that don't really elevate the film because she's not in it enough.
Right.
And short story long. Well, the point is that what's really good about it, Anne Hathaway is actually the least expected.
She's back, everybody. Anne Hathaway's back.
Can I just
She
say,
plays an airheaded, narcissistic celebrity, and she does it so well.
I've just read it's all about her neck.
It is, but she's just fabulous. Yes, speak. Yes, James.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Anne Hathaway is one of the great underrated actresses of our time. I'm going to say that her Catwoman was brilliant, and I'm also going to say that she deserved the damn Oscar for her 5 minutes in Les Mis.
All right. Well,
we have to build them up and we have to tear them down, and now we're ready to build them back up again. Anne Hathaway's back.
Yeah.
I love what the New York Times says of her performance because it's so ridiculous. Turns the part of a cliched Hollywood female narcissist into a disquisition on performative femininity.
If I knew what that meant, I would agree.
I know,
No, but
right?
if you remember, Julia Roberts also
Yes.
had a similar role in the last Ocean's 11 movie.
Oh, yeah?
And when she played herself, and it was like sort of a meta performance of her being a vapid Julia Roberts star. And so, but this is, you say Anne Hathaway, she was excoriated. Excoriated? Is that the word?
that.
Excoriated.
Excoriated for the
Today's
role.
episode is a vocabulary lesson.
you can
But now,
excoriate.
Anne Hathaway is being, praised for doing what Julia Roberts
If you're
was
doing a
excoriated for.
disquisition on performative femininity, you can certainly excoriate.
Yes.
Anyway, it's really good. I mean, it's sort of not really good, actually. And it all hinges. The stupid necklace. It's like they reproduce it. I don't want to give it
Is
away.
it a nice
They
necklace? Would I
reproduce
want?
it.
Would I wear it?
No, and they print it in a 3D printer. They print a knockoff, and they're going to swap out the real necklace for the knockoff. You can't print a diamond necklace in a 3D printer.
You can print ears.
Yeah, but you need the settings. It's not just the diamonds. It's also the metal clasps. It's just there's too many suspensions of disbelief. And
I wonder if that same necklace is available on QVC right now.
But are the fashions fabulous? Do they all walk around in fabulous Prada and Givenchy and?
it just, I don't know. I thought it missed, but look, this is supposedly doing the best of all, right?
Yeah,
of
exactly.
All,
This is
Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, Ocean's 13. Its 3-day take at the weekend bested all of them.
It did. It shows that the girls beat George Clooney and Brad Pitt's star
Power
power.
of the women.
Yes.
Did you get the feeling that the theater that you saw it in, that they all felt like you did, or was there an excitement? Did you get a vibe from the
No,
crowd?
I got the vibe I got is people liked it. I mean, I nodded off towards the end, as I am wont to do. Nolan loved it. My son loved it. He thought it was great. And it is it's a gentle heist. It's not really a sort of, but I
There are
feel
no car
heist-
chases and gunshots and.
It's right. It's low on it's not just low on the violence, which I like.
Yes.
It's very low on the stakes, because who cares if you rip off Cartier with a $100 million necklace? Who cares if you rob the
Which
rich?
is worth $100 to begin with, so who
right.
cares?
Who cares if you rob the rich at the
Diamonds
Met
are-
Ball? It's
If
sort
you
of,
have a diamond necklace, you've been heisted.
it's anyway. But also, I don't know if it did beat the Ocean's 13, 12, or 11, because you've got to adjust for inflation. So
You're just busting everything, mister.
And I'll come back after the break and say it was really good.
That's right. You have that tendency.
Speaking of which, we have to take a quick break. So I have a question for you. How many Ocean's movies are there?
Are we counting the original from the 1960s?
You're listening to Radio Andy on Sirius XM. We'll have the answer for you right after the break.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
In a world on the brink of chaos, where fear is the rule of the land,
We will build the wall.
the voices of a generation have banded together. Bianca Del Rio, Adore Tobano, Valentina, Latrice Royale, and Detox, with the supermodel of the world, RuPaul. To give our planet what it needs. Baby drag queens.
Field trip!
Yeah, set phasers to stunning.
Ooh, snap!
Oh, maybe you're just not cut out to be a real queen.
Because reading is what?
Fundamental.
What day are you supposed to be, cornball?
I'm a Taurus day.
That's not even...
Glitter powers activate.
My best friends in the entire world made this dress for me out of love and kindness and sisterhood. It's priceless and it's not for sale.
I'll give you $10,000.
Sold.
Yeah!
I'm still offended.
But give me a taco.
Welcome back to the Wow Report here on Radio Andy, where, every week we count down the top 10 things that made us go,
Wow.
James.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm still thinking of the trivia question.
We go, wow, James. And I'm here with James St. James.
Is James okay? I don't know. Okay.
I just had an aneurysm.
Tom Campbell, of course, and Blake Jacobs.
Hi, Blake.
And I'm Fenton. So the question was, we were talking about Ocean's 8, which is supposedly the most successful financially of all the Ocean's movies.
Yeah.
And so I asked the question, how many Ocean's films have been made?
Well, work with me here, Tom, because there's the one in the 60s.
Yes, with Frank Sinatra and all those.
There's Ocean's 8,
Yep,
Ocean's 9,
9.
Ocean's 10, Ocean's 11.
Was there an 11 and a half or something? No.
No, and then this one. So I'm saying 6.
I'm going to say 5 just to be different.
Blake?
I'd say 5 too.
Yeah, you're right. 5 it is, because 11, 12, 13, 8, which is 4.
And then the
And
one
then
in
the original one in
yeah,
1960.
I'm
You
waiting
totally
for Ocean's
ruined.
11, 9 and a half, the gay version. Huh? Get it? It's like an inches thing.
Oh, that would be, okay.
It would be a heist of a lube store.
Slippery.
Oh, I enjoyed that one.
That sounds like a challenge on RuPaul's Drag Race.
It sure does.
Tom, what have you got for us at number 7?
Number 7.
The Tony Awards were this weekend. And you know what? I'm here to eat some crow. Because a few years ago, not last year, but a few years ago, maybe during the Obama years, and we took everything for granted, I thought, are the Tonys relevant anymore? Is theater so elitist that we don't see it? And you know what? I was wrong, because the Tonys on Sunday, especially in these crazy Trumponian times, when there's so many things dividing us, the theme was really, it was entertaining, and there was this magical feeling of Radio City Music Hall filled with artistic, beautiful people celebrating the arts. Yes, sir.
Now, but can I challenge you here? Because you are somebody who has seen every single play out there this year. And so for someone like me who hasn't seen any theater, is it relevant for the average Joe six-pack in the hinterlands?
It's not, everything doesn't have to be for Joe Sixpack, by the way. And I do think when living next to Joe Sixpack is Sally high school play giver, so it's like, it's for everybody.
Sally high school play giver? I've never met her.
You'd love her. She's a big fan of yours. It's funny because I felt so good because last year I went and saw everything.
You do. You see
and
a lot
this
of
year,
theater.
I got a little behind. It only takes, there's theater every year. Part of the issue, I guess, is that there's so many plays are successful now. They stay. Broadway had its biggest year ever.
Yes, Broadway is on a roll, right?
But there were a number of them that I saw that I didn't know anything about. The one where
the one that won.
Yeah, the one at the bus stop, and he's the
band's visit.
He's an Egyptian band or something like that. What is that?
Yes, I hadn't seen that.
Right, okay.
And I'm going to now. And Tony Shalhoub's in it and won many, many, many awards,
Right, he won
including
Best Actor,
Best
in
Original
Musical.
Musical, and there was a song they sang called Omar Sharif, which you have to love any song named Omar Sharif.
Sure.
And I think it's about Israelis and Palestinians coming together, and it's one of those,
they're trapped at a bus stop.
Yes, where theater in 24 hours, where theater can actually. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. the moment everyone's talking about it, it's a loud and crude moment.
Robert De Niro
came out, and if you watch it online,
it's
in Australia they didn't bleep it, so you hear he came out and he was like 3/4 of the way through the show, and it needs a little bit boost of energy, and he's like, "Fuck Trump." And then he goes on, and then he was just like, you know what? Not resist Trump, fuck Trump. And it's by the time I saw it on the West Coast feed, which was not live, they had bleeped it out. They had blurred his mouth. There was like a gray.
Blurred his mouth.
There was like yes. They were very careful.
Now, but the other moment of the show.
Well, this the last thing is that the other moment to me of that is like the second time he said it, the entire Radio City Music Hall jumped to its feet and applauded.
Right.
Well, it's preaching to the audience. I mean, he knew the crowd.
It is.
Yeah.
Wait.
It's still a moment where people are together and unified and like, no, I think it's fantastic. I mean,
I think when they go low, you have to kick them in the balls. I
don't disagree, but I have friends from high school on Facebook, and whenever I put anything
you need to
up,
lose these friends, because I've heard about these friends an awful lot. I think you need to
kick
these people.
They say,
your friends.
This is the reason that Trump's going to win again, because you make people who support him feel bad, and it's just like he's a bad guy. But what was the other moment you were talking about?
The Parkland students
singing.
Yeah, come on.
Oh, so they had the choir leader of the Parkland choir, the Parkland High School that had the mass shooting this year. Yeah. They had a lot of Broadway cares, or people had come together and performed with them for a benefit, and so they gave the choir director a special Tony, and they had them the choir come out, a high school group of just the perfect high school choir, because they were incredibly good, beyond good, but also still squeaky clean and fresh and not professional, in the best possible way.
They just banged
and they sang
moments or the from Rent.
24.
How
many
minutes? And
that one.
I watched it like 3 times. I
haven't seen it yet.
I rewound it and rewound it and rewound it. And there's some girl at the end who hits the high note the way you want that girl to hit the high note. And again, none of it feels. It's incredible. It's as good as it can get. Yet it's pure high school.
Everything we love and everything we hate and everything we just yearn to go back to.
Oh my God!
Now, was Emma Gonzalez and David Hogg, were they part of it?
They were not. They were not.
Okay.
It was just this choir. It was like the high school show choir on the Tony Award winning stage, and it just brought everyone to tears. And I have to say, Josh Groban and Sarah Bareilles were the hosts, and I was a little skeptical. They did an amazing job.
Sarah Bareilles is really an underrated talent.
Is. I didn't realize that Waitress has never won anything, because she said we're hosting because we've never won anything, so this show is for you.
Well, if you remember, she was Mary Magdalene in Jesus Christ Superstar this year.
And I've seen Waitress, and they're both, and I've seen Josh on Broadway. They're both big Broadway stars now. They're multi hyphenates, but they did a great job. And I'm telling you, and I do get corny because when I go to the theater now, I always weep when I'm there, because it's about talent. It's about words.
It's about a shared experience.
It's about a shared experience, and it's about progress. It's about trying to figure things out through theater and music and supporting all that. Anyway, I'm a cornball.
Well, there is an intricacy there's an intricacy to it, because I think you were saying the other day about certain pop songs that lack a certain amount of words and certain that they're just
they're an algorithm almost.
Right. And the Broadway is still this sort of
immediacy.
It's like a Fabergé egg. No, it's like, yes, it is absolutely, it is immediate, but it is also a complex, crafted thing. You can't just. Black Eyed Peas could just not go on stage and sing "I've Got a Feeling." That would not deliver in a Broadway
Sunday,
show.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Remember, they just list things.
And the best thing to do is to go back.
But maybe that's a good idea.
Is to go back and watch it if it's. I think you can still stream it.
It's on the tubes.
And it's so good. And there's so many moments that I haven't even talked about, but you just see it. I mean, Bruce Springsteen's on. Laurie Metcalf wins. Who's the fabulous British actress? Bruce Springsteen was amazing. Who was in 3 Tall Women? And why am I blanking?
Glenda Jackson.
Glenda Jackson won.
Right, moving on. James, number 6,
Watch
quickly.
Number 6.
Trailer park time. We're going to talk about some 3 movie trailers that I saw this week that I really need to talk about.
James, we can do
this. We can do this. You're going to spend 3 minutes listening to my trailers.
It's so easy for you just to watch a trailer.
But part of the movie experience is anticipating them. So thank you, James. What's coming up?
Okay, this Susperia trailer just was released.
Suspiria?
Suspiria. Remember the Dario Argento classic movie from the 1970s, right? One of your favorite horror films of all time.
Okay.
No, it is.
Remade.
Wait, you guys are fighting me. I've gotten 3 words into this, and I'm getting resistance from you.
Focus on me.
Thank you.
I'm open.
I'm just actually covering up for my ignorance. I don't know Susperia.
Suspiria. It's one of the
Isn't that
great
shameful?
Italian horror films of all time. Dario Argento, the master of horror in the 1970s. Great use of color. The blues, the reds, the saturation.
Wow.
It's something that you would absolutely go
I gotta
bananas
check it out.
for.
Thank you.
Yes, okay.
Learn
This
something
is a
new
remake.
every day, as Martha says.
This is a remake by Luca Guadagnino, the guy who did Call Me By Your Name, so we know that it's, once again, seeped in Italian culture. It stars Tilda Swinton, Dakota Fanning.
Anything she does is good. And she's in a lot of his movies. She was in that Love Always or...
Love that. I know the one you're talking about.
It's not, it's not Love Always.
No,
though.
but it's
Love...
where she's doing a Russian doing it with an Italian accent, and she's an American doing Russian with an Italian accent.
She's living in a fabulous mansion in
yes,
Milan
and swanning around in fabulous outfits. Yes. Okay.
Speaking Italian all the way through the movie.
No, she's speaking Italian with a Russian accent.
I have no idea.
Yes, she's an American speaking Italian with a Russian. It's like meta, like on top of it. Just it
wig on
blows your
top of
mind.
wig on top of wig.
Right, wig on top of wig on top of wig. Okay, but it also stars Dakota Fanning, Chloe Grace Moretz, and Mia Goth. Okay, so it's a really fabulous. I really want you to check this out.
Okay.
It doesn't have the color saturations that Dario Argento does. Dario is Asia's father.
Yeah.
Do you know who Dario Argento is?
Asia's father.
You're a director. You should be knowing these things. You should be knowing your references. I'm sorry. We're moving on. Okay, Halloween. The Halloween trailer came out.
Oh, Halloween.
You know Halloween. Yes, this is
What permeation of Halloween
is this? A remake
is this?
of the Genesis?
Well, I'll tell you. So I'll tell you what it is. This version, they are discounting every single sequel that has come since. There have been 27 sequels,
At least.
Okay, and this one starts off 40 years later. We've got Jamie Lee Curtis is back.
Oh.
She's been training for 40 years, waiting for Michael Myers to escape so that she can beat the crap out of him. Okay, she has a daughter who is played by Judy Greer, who we loved from Archer. Judy Greer is one of the great actresses of our generation. Yes. It's interesting that they've discounted everything that's come since it, because Halloween 2 is one of the scariest movies of all time. Remember, that was the one that took place in the hospital, and it was the first time I realized as a child that not every place you think is safe is actually safe.
Violating safe spaces.
Yes, exactly. And she's in the hospital, and everybody dies in the hospital, and it's just her and him alone on the emergency room ward or whatever. So, but it's strange that they and also in this one, he's not her brother. Which
Do
is
they have the theme song?
John Carpenter came back and reworked the theme song specifically for this one.
That's almost my favorite thing of Halloween.
It is.
Is that haunting? It's a little Tubular Bells-esque.
Also,
right?
It is. It is one of the great theme songs of all time. It also the just the scenery of this. I mean, Haddonfield, the fictional city or whatever in Illinois, or whatever. But it's just the dead trees, and it's just everything about it is just very. It's very scary. Moving right along, we have a third trailer that I thought that everyone should be talking about right now. It's the Lady Gaga, Bradley Cooper, A Star Is Born.
Seen that trailer.
Yes. Okay, good. And I thought it was going to be a shit show. I was prepared for it to be a shit show, and it really looks good.
I know.
It does.
I didn't realize Bradley Cooper directed. Not only stars in it, directs it.
And he looks damn good, doesn't he? He really plays the part of the broken down star, the alcoholic star, really well. He's sort of a Chris Christopherson-esque. He really is. She does not look that great. She really deglammed herself.
Well, right. She's not Lady Gaga,
no,
right?
she's not Lady Gaga. She's Lady Gaga's voice. And when the first 3 minutes of the trailer are Bradley, and then she comes in, pow! Yes. And it really...
It's like a train coming through, and you know from that moment on he's history, right?
Yeah. You talk about the shot of adrenaline in the third act.
Yeah.
She really comes in and sells it.
It's a great moment in the trailer, because you're thinking, well, this is nice, this is cute, and then...
Wow!
Yeah. Just like a sort of, one of those sort of Tom Wolfe tangerine flake colored cars going and you just realize, oh fuck,
she is a star. A star is born.
Yeah.
I did see that Liza Minnelli has said that she would break her long-standing rule of not seeing her mother's movies that are remakes of her mother. She will go see it because she loves Lady Gaga that much, and she is going to be there front and center on opening night. I also saw that Barbara Streisand was a little. She said that she was re-releasing her version
on Netflix, a longer version. turn because the first one wasn't long enough.
It was only 5 hours.
I don't know that I've seen the Judy Garland Star Is
You've
Born.
seen the Janet Gaynor.
But I've never really seen the Barbra
You really have
Streisand
to.
one.
I went back and watched it a few months ago, and it's a camp fest. It is
exactly.
It's
It's just luminosity.
And she's got the big 70s afro,
Yes.
and Chris Christopherson, who was the sexiest man alive at the time.
There's something so drenched and there's something so 70s about it, isn't it?
It's
all style and it's just
and it's all
fabulous.
browns and,
yes,
and,
browns
and
and burnt
nutmegs,
siennas.
Burnt siennas.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a Kerbernet sight gag on her show back in the 70s that made fun of it with Glenn Campbell and as Chris Christopherson and she as Barbra Streisand. And it was just that album cover where they're like holding each other or the poster and they were stuck in each other's hair, which is like, I can't get away from you.
I thank Barbara for re-releasing the original in an extended fashion. And the only thing I would love for her is to do a sort of commentary track as well alongside it.
Yes.
Her commentary track on Yentl is to die for.
It really is,
amazing. A tour de force. So, okay, so Halloween.
I have another one.
Is October 19th. You don't.
You said 3.
A Star Is Born is October 5th, and Susperia is on November 2nd.
And I really urge you, if you have never seen Susperia, as some of these people here have never seen
Ignoramuses here.
would you go out and it's one of the great horror movies of all time.
I hear that the blues are very blue.
The blues are, and the reds are. You've never seen a red like this.
Okie doke.
Number 5, James, this is for you.
Number 5.
I have come across a new book called Fabulous, The Rise of the Beautiful Eccentric. It's written by
Simon Doonan.
By Madison Moore.
Okay.
It's published by Yale University Press. Every week I learn new things. I didn't know who Madison. I don't know Madison Moore.
Who's
he
Madison
is
Moore?
a cultural critic and DJ based in London
Is he
and
the
Berlin.
star of $1 Million Listing Los Angeles?
He writes about pop culture, Beyonce, queerness, fashion, nightlife, sound, media, visual culture, and contemporary art. He holds a PhD in American Studies.
Wait, where does he write
from
about these things?
Yale University. This is his first book.
Okay.
And it is all about fabulousness.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I've read like the
Am
first...
I in it?
Oh, you bitch.
What?
Yes, you are.
No!
Yes, no, that was going to be my little reward for you.
No,
for
wait a
listening
minute,
to me.
no, stop it.
Go
Really?
on, all about... Yes. There's a huge section in the book
There's a giant
about Party Monster.
Oh, no, stop it. Really?
About your book and about our film. Interestingly, your name is mentioned. Me and Randy, not so much. Actually,
why haven't
not
you?
at all.
Why haven't you sent me
Not-
any links about this?
Not at all.
He's jealous and
I'm
angry.
telling you about it right now. I literally just heard of the book yesterday, and I'm just going to read you some extracts because there is nothing more to say. I can't add anything. It is brilliant. Okay. Fabulousness almost always stems from a turning point. The moment we realize that suppressing our full selves by trying to fit in does us more harm than good. That it just isn't working, even if sometimes we're forced to blend in to feel safe. Fabulousness is an embrace of yourself through style when the world around you is saying you don't deserve to be there. So Madison, basically, his whole book is the black queer perspective, and it is very much focused on black fabulousness. But when you are brown, here's another quote, when you are brown, queer, or an outcast, already a moving target, fabulousness is the politic. It is glitter as defiance. Think of glitter bombing, and this sense of confrontation separates it from camp.
Oh,
Yeah?
that's interesting.
Interestingly, he says, Sontag, who wrote the notes on camp, the essay, Sontag said that camp was apolitical. I think she got it so fucking wrong.
Really?
But everyone just sort of bows down before Sontag. I think camp is, in fact, extremely political. And I always think of Ru. Every time I bat my eyelashes, it's a political act. And this book really makes good. This is a whole book, I think, about that. It's actually fantastic. I'll read you something else. Okay, so here are the 4 principles. Fabulousness does not take a lot of money. Okay. It is an aesthetic that requires high levels of creativity, but there is no blueprint for it. Fabulousness is dangerous, political, confrontational, risky, and largely not only practiced by queer, trans, and trans feminine people of color and other marginalized groups.
Sure.
Finally, it's about making a spectacle of yourself not merely to be seen, but because your body is constantly suppressed and undervalued. Fabulousness, hard to say, can light up a room, and that means it's easy to frame it as a simple narrative of triumph. Yes, But great style is never simply style for style's sake. It isn't just about looking good and feeling confident. It's also a form of protest, a revolt against the norms and systems that oppress and torture. I mean, isn't this genius?
Yes.
This is kind of good. So I haven't read the whole book. And then, James, let's get to you, because that's really all you're waiting for.
Tapping his fingers over here.
If you look closely, you will find examples of fabulousness in nearly every pocket of contemporary popular media and visual culture. In the 2003 cult film Party Monster,
Directed by Fenton Bailey and Randy Barbado.
I know he left that bit
Based on the book by James St. James.
a documentary about the lives and horrors of fabulous life in New York City. Michael Aidig's character desperately asked James St. James, then the queen of New York nightlife, to teach him how to be fabulous. As if. Isn't that great? And there's a whole separate section on it. So, fabulous.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
And where can we find this book?
Fabulous. The Rise and Fall. No, not Rise and Fall. The Rise of the Beautiful Eccentric by Madison Moore. You can get it on Amazon. And it just came out. So,
Well, that's exciting.
So we have to take a quick breaky poo.
Okie dokie.
Here's the question. Did you know that the
James
word...
St. James was fabulous.
Did you know that the word fabulosity is trademarked? It really is.
Wait, this is a yes or no question?
Yeah.
Oh.
Who did that?
Oh.
Who trademarked the word fabulosity? This is the Wow Report on Radio Andy Sirius XM. We'll have the answer right after the break.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
Oh, do you want to know what's in the box?
WOW presents World of Drag, our first subscription box.
The producers of Drag Race have hunted down the most sickening items from around the world. Subscribe today and you'll receive a different curated box 4 times a year. I wonder what's in this one.
I want to know what's in the box. It sounds dangerous.
Oh my God.
First and foremost is the most important thing in this box. It's my book.
Ooh, it's the Purse Person makeup bag.
Just put your toothbrush, put your butt plugs, and toothpaste.
Wonder what else was in the box.
Oh, we've got a little travel tag. That's super cute. Next, I see Sasha Velour playing cards. This is the unicorn pool float. Isn't she gorgeous? We've got our World of Wonder nuts to soup. Aww, squirrel friend. What's in here? This one right here is the Drag Tot pin. You never know which one you're gonna get. There's 5 of them to collect, like Pokemon, you gotta catch them all. That's not it. World of Wonder Art Collection Series. Oh, this is gorgeous. And you get all of that in the first World of Drag box. Sign up now. Subscribe now at worldofdrag.com and get ready for some fun delivered right to your door.
World of Drag.
Hey, welcome back to the Wow Report. So we're counting down top 10 things that make us go,
wow!
I'm Fenton, I'm here with Tom and James and Blake. Before the break, the question was fabulosity. That word has been trademarked. Who by?
Wish I had a clever answer.
Do you want a clue?
I'm like, is it like an Andre Leon Talley or something?
This person also wrote a book about it.
Oh, Simon Doonan? No.
She.
Oh, the girl that who wrote Fabulous Nobodies?
Her book was Fabulosity, What It Is, How to Get It.
Oh.
Published in 2006.
I think I have
by
it too.
Kimora
yes, Simmons.
Good for her.
Yeah, sure.
She also had the sass.
I haven't heard a lot about her lately.
I know,
She
right?
lives right by me.
Well, ask her what's up.
Right.
Have her come by the Wow Report.
I do. I see her sometimes pulling out of her driveway. Oh, he was handsome.
Okay, number 4, Tom.
Number 4.
I was talking about how the Tonys, the ratings went up a little bit this year from last year. People were saying they're over. But the one show that beat them that night that I had to watch on DVR a separate time was Celebrity Family Feud, the Kardashians versus the Kanye Wests. And I don't know why I was kind of excited to see it.
Was it good?
It was
No.
okay. On one, supposedly, it's Kanye's favorite show and Kim's favorite show. So on one side was
That
the
makes
West,
sense, doesn't it?
Mhm. And it was Kanye, Kim, and then Kanye cousins who all work for
But
him.
aren't we really angry with Kanye? Aren't we just so tired of him? And
Well, we're going to get there. And then on the other side was Kris Jenner. They added an extra person because there's no rules for them. Kris Jenner, her mother, MJ. If you watch the show, you know MJ. And then it was Chloe, who was still pregnant. So it was a while ago. No Kylie, because clearly she was hiding her pregnancy at the time. Kendall's there.
Kendall's there?
Yes.
Okay.
Who made a political statement. And then it's
Jonathan Chaban.
yes, him.
Ew,
And a cousin. Yeah.
Can we talk about Jonathan Chaban just 2 seconds?
Sure.
Because he's the one who made those golden. Did you see that? The golden tacos or something like that. What is it? Did you see
Golden tacos?
No, you know what I'm talking about. He
no.
made he dips them in 24 karat gold and then you eat them and they're $1,300.
Because he's a foodie now.
Yeah, and it's like
Food
this is the type
god.
of thing that leads about the French Revolution where its head's on a spike because.
I missed all that, but he's weird. The exciting thing for me, and this, I'm so shallow, and I love the Kardashians, is they weren't in Kardashian lighting, and you saw them at angles you never see them on their own show. That's a good point. You just saw them in profile. It was like, what's going on? Who is that? Oh, it's Chloe. You know, like, who was pregnant, looked great, but it was just fun to see them all. They all looked rather human. Like the Jonathan guy has a little bit of a gut. Kanye is covering up some chubbiness, but I got to tell you, Kanye was feeling good. He was all smiles that day. He clearly is up or down because he just loved being on that show.
Yeah. Well, we know she's manic.
Yes, and there was an amazing moment. Chloe's the fun one. We all know that.
Yeah.
Because Chloe came up to face off against.
She wouldn't shake your hand. I saw that. She wouldn't shake Kim's hand.
Yes, she was all like that, and then and then Kim, who was pretending, she's trying so hard.
Why wouldn't she shake her hand?
Because it's Family Feud. It's on. You know, yo. I got my eyes on you, Kim. And then Kim goes, to Steve Harvey, have you ever had a family that has played each other like this? He goes, yeah, my own family's been on the show. And Chloe's like, I thought you were a big fan of this show, Kim. It was my favorite moment because she's basically, Kim's just pretending she likes Family Feud for Kanye. Sorry, I said it. And then I'm dumbing it down here. But then, and the other way that, when Kanye and Kris Jenner were up, when they go up front and they have to face off and get the right answer in order to take the round.
What was Kris wearing?
Kris was wearing all black. They were all in black. But she had ruffled sleeves and then a little bit of a gut. Like she could have worn something cuter. A blazer would have helped Kris. I'm just a friend. I'm just a friend helping another friend. But, when they have to, they go up and they do the sudden death thing, Kris purposely hesitated so Kanye could answer. They're all in service of Kanye. So Kim pretends she's a fan of the show. Kris lets him answer first. This is my interpretation. And then the Jenner side won. So they go to that fast money round, but they came back from the commercial, and Kendall and Chloe are like, because we're family, because we love each other so much, which is such a Kardashian, keep with the Kardashian plot line, we're going to let Kanye and Kim play the fast money round because they were all playing for Children's Hospital. But, because Kanye, it's really Kanye's dream to play this round. So they didn't even play by the right rules. And I want to give you the fast round and see how you answer it. Okay, this is Kim's answers. All right, on a scale of 1 to 10, how sexy are you compared to the people you work with?
1.
10.
Kim said 10. What part of the body are you always banging into things?
My boobs.
My butt.
She said my butt.
Okay.
It was a 0. But she said, I really do knock things over with my butt all the time, which is so on brand. And then it was those are the good ones. So it was totally silly. I think it's amazing that Kanye's in the president's business, that Kim is freeing, I think it's great that
What
Kim.
do you mean president's business?
Well, Kanye's
all MAGA.
tied up with
He's
Trump.
MAGA. He's a MAGA head.
Yeah.
And then Kim was in the White House and got that wonderful, sad
And I made fun of her, but she got the job done.
What did she do?
She had got Alice freed. She freed the woman who was
visited the president.
About
prison reform,
right.
and he pardoned the woman that she went
later,
to talk to.
he pardoned the woman. She
was in prison for life.
Her sentence was
life because of selling a bag of cocaine, and she'd been in jail for 21 years, and she got it commuted.
And I think it's great what Kim did. And my whole issue with that is, and it's like Undercover Boss. It's like government as reality TV. It's like, it's a big headline. Kim goes and gets a thing, and she did the right thing, and we saved one life. life, and that's a good thing. But it does not take the place of policy, because there are thousands, maybe millions, I don't know, of people in jail on hard drug charges that
shouldn't be.
But if you remember, and Trump, all the Republicans were like, "Oh, he did the right thing. He was so wonderful. He commuted someone's sentence." But if you remember, Obama pardoned hundreds of low-level drug offenders, and the Republicans went absolutely bananas and said it was the worst thing that he'd ever done.
You are correct, sir.
Yeah. So,
all right,
that's the real Family Feud.
Number 3, James.
No, it's not me. I cede my seat. I give up my seat to Mr. Blake Jacobs. Come up here.
Oh,
this is exciting.
Number 3.
Blake. Hi. How are you?
Good. I'm a little sweaty.
Okay.
No, it's hot in here.
Wow.
So take off all your clothes.
Number 3. This is a big number.
Number 3, I wanted to talk a little bit about Hereditary. Have y'all seen this?
No. It's a horror film, right?
It is a horror film.
It's a much talked about horror film.
I'm reading good reviews, but I have not seen it.
Yeah. It is really, it's good. People are saying it's the new Exorcist.
I'm terrified of horror films. Like, I will not put myself... If it's too scary, I don't want to go.
And this one is like literally supposed to be one of the scariest movies ever made.
That's right.
Have you seen it?
No, I haven't, but I've read the reviews.
Well, it starts out, there's this weird little girl, and she is just like a super weirdo. And that's kind of, I don't know, I hate to like
give it
No,
away.
tell it, do it. Come on, tell us everything.
Well, I can't tell you everything.
People can stop listening for just a minute if they don't want to know about
plug your
Hereditary.
ears.
Go ahead.
Anyway, like basically it's all like the grandmother who had passed away then, and it's really crazy.
So the grandmother kind of isn't dead, sort of thing, or is,
sort of.
Right.
And there's
Wait,
just like
but
crazy.
you knew you were going to talk about this, so why are you stumbling? What you tell us
He's
everything?
not. He's hesitating in an
I wanna know
artful
the story.
way.
Well, I'm
Gosh,
sure
you're
everyone
a
else
belligerent
does it,
bitch
though.
today.
This is like Toddlers and Tiara, and James is the stage mom, and poor Blake here is our little toddler.
I've given up my seat. Now I want you to wow everybody.
I'm terrified if James stays down there for my release. What are you talking about? You don't know what he's talking about.
Like James in the seat.
The little girl is the creepiest looking little girl you've ever seen. Her name is Millie Shapiro, and she was actually in Matilda. She originated the role of Matilda on Broadway.
Very talented.
Then they have a son named Alex Wolff, who James...
I love those Wolf boys, yes.
You would love him, but he's really like olive-skinned, and like... The parents, he just did not look anything like Toni Collette or the dad.
So you're expecting a movie called Hereditary to like deal with the genetics of the family and having a realistic looking cast.
Well, yeah, and apparently like the big twist at the end, I'm not going to tell you, but it's true.
Were you scared?
I'm not really. The movies that scare me the most are like Silence of the Lambs and
psychological thrillers.
Yeah, like
what was that? Don't Make a
serial
Sound
killers.
movie?
Oh well, that was
A Quiet Place.
Yeah, did you see?
I saw that.
Was
that was
scary?
terrifying.
It was good. Yeah,
I
it was
walked
good.
out.
What?
Did I tell you
Did you
this?
really?
Did you?
Yeah. I just thought it was like the whole thing was like too nerve wracking, and I went to the bathroom. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to sit around.
Well,
waiting.
right, too nerve wracking, too traumatic.
But I kept
right?
also thinking like, okay, I'm going to fart in my sleep. I'm dead. Okay, I'm going to snore. I'm dead.
Well, that was the whole point, was that she was pregnant.
I just died
I
like
didn't even
90 times.
think about
just in my
farting.
mind. Oh yeah, farting in your sleep. That's what I live for.
Well, for me, it's normally when I wake up. That's
So-
when I know I'm awake. Just
What?
a
So
big-
is Toni Collette is the mother? She's supposed to be.
Yes, she is a psycho in this.
That's so
Like,
good, supposedly.
Yeah,
like
crazy.
could win an Oscar on an
It's
horror
crazy,
movie.
yeah.
All right,
You guys definitely have to
Okay.
see it. Go see it.
Hereditary is in theaters now.
Yep.
Thank you, Blake.
Thank you, Blake.
I am
Musical
too
chairs.
scared to go see it.
I
Really,
might go.
I am.
I might go.
Okay, guys. So number 2.
Number 2.
This is actually pertinent to today's discussion.
No good.
Is reality TV really to blame for Donald Trump? That is the headline of a Vanity Fair article for which I was interviewed. It's by
Did they give you a lot of quotes?
Well, here's the thing. I was interviewed by, I think, Julie Miller, and I was asked the question, and I did get a quote, and my quote was this: "The fact that he was able to use the show doesn't have anything to do with the genre itself." I'm talking about Donald Trump hosting The Apprentice for 14 seasons. It has to do with the person. Did he use, kidnap, or hijack the medium to advance his own ends? Sure, he did. But it's got nothing to do with the genre of reality TV. Now, That is not all I said by any means.
But
In
what
fact,
you did is you are working against the premise of the article, and so she chopped you. Is that what happened?
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, because if you've ever been interviewed, reporters so often
They will feed you
come
what they want
with an
you.
agenda, and they're looking for you to fill in their blanks.
Exactly. And you did not do that, so you were chopped.
I mean, Andy Cohen talks about the Housewives playbook and how Donald Trump rescinds invitations, brings up old fights, makes bogus statements, which are all very good and pertinent examples. But then I have to say, Julie, when she says the line between reality TV and Trump's presidency blurs every time Trump makes a momentous political decision, I'm like, no, that is so wrong. And no reality TV producers are not baffled by Trump. They're not defensive about Trump. We're not resigned about Trump. And I went on and on in this interview with Randy. And at the end, Randy said, you sound a little angry. So no wonder nothing was used. But then, the universe is a kind place, Huffington Post got in touch because they wanted to write the same article, and they emailed over some questions. And they were like things like, when do you expect Mueller to be kicked off the show? Or if he stays, who will you kick off instead? So I let rip. I said, if this were a reality show versus a true tragedy for America that it is, Trump wouldn't even be hosting the show in the first place because he would not have passed the various criminal, psychological, medical background checks that are usually required. It's almost criminal that he was ever allowed on the show. NBC and the producers knew that far from being a rich and successful businessman, as the opening of sequence of The Apprentice willfully misrepresents, Trump was a business failure, financially and morally bankrupt. Breaking it down, because sometimes you have to, Trump is an evil motherfucker who corrupts everything he touches. You name it: real estate, universities, stakes, airlines, hotels, family values, Facebook, Twitter, reality TV, beauty pageants, golf courses, the presidency. He always has and he always will, from lying about the number of floors in Trump Tower to the seminal bestseller he didn't write and probably didn't read. He's always been this way, and he always will be. It is not helpful to see this presidency as a reality show. That's merely a symptom of our refusal to face reality. People used to laugh about what a joke Hitler was, ignoring the threat he posed for a criminally long time, especially in America. So what will we do now we have Hitler in our midst? Make no mistake, Trump does not equal entertainment. Trump equals death.
You said all that.
I said all that.
Okay.
And so our publicist, who's lovely, Laura
Yes.
Michael, she wrote to me and said, I don't know if you should participate in this interview because there were email questions and I wrote this email back.
Okay.
And she said,
all I was thinking was like, James and I should just shut up because you're much more articulate when we're not interrupting you with our petty things. That's an amazing statement and really articulate and really smart and really
angry.
But I'm thinking,
and I do sound a little angry.
That we have our resistor of the week right here. We don't even have to come up with another one. Fenton Bailey is our resistor of the week.
Thank you so much.
I also do want to say though that the reality show thing in Trump, we did just learn yesterday that appearances are everything because people are saying that the meeting with Kim Jong-un was a triumph for Trump, and just because the optics were there.
Absolutely.
Even though there was no substance.
But optics are just optics. And Trump as president is reality. And so this willful confusion of saying, oh, it's a reality show. No, it isn't. It's real life. But a reality show you can turn off. This you cannot turn off. But it's this false equivalency. It's sort of some sort of overthinking. And we think, oh, it's a clever idea. But it's not true. It's a delusion to say Trump's presidency is a reality. It's a delusion.
Right. We can say this another day. Do you think that news is a reality show? The news coverage. We can talk about that another day. Because sometimes I do think they're hype. They just want headlines. They just want to use hyperbole.
CNN especially is guilty
of
bit. Always,
a little bit.
Well, when we come back, we'll reveal the number one thing that made us go, wow, this week. It's the Wow Report on Radio Andy, Sirius XM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
You ready, kitty girl?
RuPaul's Drag Race 现在可观赏，专门在中国地区。请订阅 Wow Presents Plus 的频道。
Welcome back. This is Wow Report on Radio Andy Sirius XM. We've been counting down this week the top 10 things that made us go, wow. Fenton, here with Tom and James, St. James and Blake.
Number 1.
Look, the number 1 this week is, so often on this show we talk about things that are funny and make us laugh, and we have we're teasing things, and this just isn't funny, and it's a hard one to...
No, but it's an important topic, and it's something that we should be addressing because we lost 2 very great people this week. We lost Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain, 2 people who were on top of the world, seemingly, who had it all, who were good people, who were out there really doing good work, helping people, and were, giving to charity, and it
seemed to be living the life that everyone dreams of.
Exactly. They were billionaires. They were both self-made people. They had overcome a lot of adversity early in their life, and it seemed like they were on the right path and they were living their best lives. And we never really know what's going on with anybody, and we don't know the depths of the horror of what they were living on a day-to-day basis. And both of them came as great surprises. And we have to take time in.
Well, the thing that's really impressed me more than ever, and there's been suicides, a lot of suicides. There's been a lot of celebrity suicides, and they've said the suicide rate in America, not just celebrities, has gone up.
Yeah,
we're living in dark times. We're living in troubling times, and I think that exacerbates it a little bit sometimes. Where we all feel a heavy burden on us right now, and some people are coping with it differently than others.
But the thing I've heard more clearly, and it's not that it hasn't been said, but the thing that I've picked up on is, in the reporting of it, it's like people. You don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, there's the people closest. They said you shouldn't, doctors don't know that their patients, psychiatrists are going to commit suicide often, that spouses don't know, that children don't know, that the person doesn't know. They might be susceptible, and then one day something happens.
Something triggers you.
And they trigger and they just do it. Because not that reassures me, but that, you do wonder, like, what could I do, or what could I...
There really isn't anything that you can do if somebody is determined to hide their depression from you.
And the thing I have heard as well, and we all are around people, we're all muddling through this world one step at a time, but it's to bring it up with people. If you suspect something, it's like, Fenton, have you thought about killing yourself? And that sounds so like dramatic and provocative, but they said, it demystifies it. And I don't know, who knows if it stops it, but it, like, you can ask someone that, and if they want to, they're not like, oh, how dare you? It's like, it's a heavy thing to bring up. But there are times I've been with people where I feel like it's worth asking because of something they're going through, or I'm hearing something, I'm like, anyway.
Well, don't you think part of the challenge is also that depression itself, which is often seen as leading to suicide or as a significant factor, is something seen as so shameful that our whole culture is attuned not to really recognize or own depression. I mean, James, you said, people can hide it from you if they're determined to, but aren't we also in a culture that really shames depression, and you don't feel it's something to share, like, or
just buck up.
But that shame also leads you to hide it from yourself sometimes, and you aren't really recognizing the symptoms that are there, and sometimes it's like an amorphous blob that shows up and then it recedes and then it comes back, and then you aren't really in control of it. And so it's just something that I think we should put up like a number for the National Suicide Hotlines.
Absolutely, we will. And in fact, if anybody is feeling suicidal, it's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, which is 1-800-273-8255, 1-800-273-8255, available 24 hours, or the Trevor Project,
which is a great one for young kids. It's a LGBTQ organization.
It's
really
also
fantastic.
24 hours.
Yeah.
1-866-488-7386. That's 1-866-488-7386.
And it is something that, like, it just keep the lines of communication open, and always, like you said, don't. It's not about shame. It's about just shining a light on it.
And I've heard people say, and again, I think it's beyond logic, but they say that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Exactly. That is so true, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all could I certainly have suffered from depression. I'm not sure that it would necessarily be clinical or necessarily suicidal, but I have had these. And the thing you say, James, that it comes and it goes, and it's the weird thing about it is you can't predict it's coming,
right?
And you also can't predict when it's going to leave. It's just this. It's like a tide. It comes in and it right.
And to the extent that I've experienced depression, I feel like I don't realize it's happening because like I get so used. I like adapt quickly, and suddenly it's like, oh, I'm going home from work and I'm going to bed.
And
you know, it's like my life is like it's just
that's
shrunk.
not depression. That's just the end of the day.
But the world starts to shrink.
Yeah,
you know, it's like I'm not going out with people. I'm not, and I'm getting used to my world getting smaller and smaller. I'm getting used to it. Versus, and then you wake up. I've woken up one day and it's like, wait a minute, this isn't right. I need a little bit more, and I've gone and seen people and gotten medication.
The depression isn't always walking around like Charlie Brown and being. Sometimes it's mania.
Right.
Sometimes it's
I'm on during the day.
Yeah, you're happy, and that's wrong
around
too.
people.
Yeah, and then other times, you know, it's not always just going home and sobbing. Sometimes it's like you said, you wake up after like 3 weeks and you realize this isn't how my life is supposed to be.
Right.
You don't have to live with depression. I think that's but of course we also recognize if you have depression, the first thing you don't want to do is reach out to someone. It's depression is a self reinforcing thing. It shuts you in, and somehow it's like being in one of those nightmares where you can't move. You know, and somehow you have to reach out to someone or just
you're not
own
alone.
It or,
But it's very sad. Anthony Bourdain was one of my favorites, and Kate Spade. I remember my first Kate Spade bag. I like it was yesterday. My mother got it for me for college.
I don't know or a fan of either one of them, but the fact that they had, in this case, a celebrity profile is interesting because they presumably have so much. Why are they doing this to themselves?
Right.
And I go back to our number 10, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and the idea that all I can really do is try and be kind to people and respect that you never know what's going on with people, and try to be kind to them.
And God bless them and their family and loved ones and relatives who have to survive
and anyone
this.
who's been touched by suicide.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for tuning into the WoW Report on Radio Andy Sirius XM. Listen anytime on the Sirius Radio app or watch us on the WoW Report. You guys, until next time, same place, same time, go out and do something that makes the world go, wow.
Bye.